Don't Starve Together is a game about not starving together. Well, that and fighting literal gods. But that's besides the point. Today we're gonna focus on that fancy little word in the title, together, as I share what, in my opinion, are the 10 strongest duo character combos for Don't Starve Together. Of course, with good players you can make any duo work, but these duos that I'm going to list have so much synergy that anyone can pick them up and experience their true potential. We're also going to go from least powerful synergy to what I personally feel is the strongest duo in the game. With all that said, let's move into the list. First up, we're gonna start with a duo that has an incredibly weak but real synergy, Wilson and Willow. You see, Bernie requires one certain resource that can only reliably be farmed en masse in one of the most dangerous areas of Don't Starve Together, beard hair. Wilson, being the only character to naturally produce beard hair, can help Willow keep Bernie active without a sewing kit, even for a team of new players who can't find or can't brave the ruins and fight shadow spelunkies. This synergy becomes even more powerful with the beard skill Wilson, as he essentially becomes a factory for the stuff. This duo quickly becomes useless once you learn how to handle spelunkies, of course, but it is still an incredible duo for very new players who just want to survive without going underground. Yes, I know beardlings exist, but if you're farming beardlings for beard hair, then I'm a little concerned about you. Next up, we have another somewhat weak but still valuable duo, Wort and Wigfrid. Now, these two don't really benefit each other in a game-changing way, but they have one very powerful combat synergy. That being the fact that Wigfrid can mass-produce her battle helms for Wort's Merm army. Now, a Merm army alone is already pretty terrifying and powerful. Slap on an 80% cheap damage resistance, well, now you have a force that can tackle pretty much anything in the entire game. These two will also be able to help each other survive, as they both have separate diets. Wort being a vegetarian and Wigfrid being a carnivore means that you'll never have a situation where someone steals the other person's food, and sharing becomes far easier. This duo is great for new players as the synergy is very easy to capitalize off of. In fact, even if you don't feel like supplying the Merm army with battle helms, the polar opposite diet alone is very, very nice, and might even save your friendship in the long run. The next duo is very valuable, but requires a team of players who know what they are doing, Windy and Wolfgang. Remember how I said that Windy has no real synergies in my rules video? Yeah, I lied. Windy not only has synergy with others default, but with her upcoming skill tree, she is going to have even more synergies with others. This one, however, doesn't even require her upcoming skill tree. You see, Windy has a mechanic tied to Abigail called Vex. This allows her to do a whopping 40% more damage to targets hit by Abigail. This effect extends to those around her though, providing a 10% boost to other players. 10% is all you need to start doing serious damage as Wolfgang. This combo is insane for fighting bosses, and as a bonus, Windy excels at crowd control, something that Wolfgang is weak at. So why is this so low in the list even though it's such a good combo? Well, that's simple. This duo requires both characters to be experienced to get the full value out of it. It is not new player friendly by any means, as both members of the duo must know exactly what they are doing. It's still very powerful, all things considered though. Also, it can be very, very hard to time the Abby unsummons that you have to for boss fights to make this as powerful as possible, so yeah. Hi, editing Polarlotus here. Yeah, so I feel like I kind of did this duo very dirty. Sure, for boss fights both characters have to be skilled, that's true, but when talking about pure survival, these two actually cover their backs quite a bit. Wolfgang is weak when it comes to crowds, and Windy is strong at handling crowds, and vice versa. So know that after giving it some thought, I personally think this duo should go a bit higher on the list, since it's still somewhat new player friendly, and can excel with experienced players. Next up, we have Wortox and Windy. Now, funny enough, Wortox synergizes with a majority of the survivors, as you will see soon, but with Windy, Wortox basically never has to farm for souls alone. Windy keeps Wortox fed, and Wortox keeps her healed for any fights. The fact that Wortox will never run out of souls also allows Windy to keep all of the mortal food for herself. making this pair an excellent survival-based duo that anybody who knows how to use Abigail can benefit off of. Next up, we have a duo that's pretty much a direct upgrade to the last one, Woody and Wortox. Why is it a direct upgrade, you may ask? Well, with the help of Weremoose, you can also farm souls just as effectively as Abigail, with a slight bit more effort. If you count clicking on opposite sides of the screen a few more times, more effort that is. But this duo gets even better, and it's all thanks to the Weremoose. You see, in Weremoose, Woody can't actively heal himself. This is where Wortox comes into play. All those souls Woody farms up can be used to keep the war machine going. Combined with Woody's built-in moose armor makes this duo an insane duo for combat, and one that's actually very easy to pull off since Moose is one of the most forgiving combat characters in the game, and you will have healing thanks to Wortox. An absolutely great duo for survival and combat. Next up, we have kind of a wild card combo here. WX78 and Winona. Now, these two characters help each other in more ways than you would expect. First, and most obviously, Winona's generators allow WX to recharge themselves, making circuit swapping a breeze. But that's not all. WX also is a phenomenal tank with health and electro circuits. Why does this matter? Well, Winona's catapults can be used on whatever boss WX happens to be tanking, without fear of the boss unaggroing and hitting her catapults. Tanking is also by far the easiest method of combat for new players to learn, since it's really just a numbers game. So yeah, while not one of the most useful duos in the game, they can still benefit each other greatly. Next up, we have a duo that's actually pretty insane if your goal is to reach your character's peaks as fast as possible. Willow and Wortox. This combo is a match made in heaven for both characters if you have a killer B field, because not only does this allow Willow to stay stocked up on embers, but it also allows Wortox to mass produce souls without lifting a finger. With his new skill tree that's coming soon, these souls will be even more powerful. With this duo, both characters will be at their max potential normally all the time. True, this duo is more beneficial for Wortox, but Willow still will benefit from the healing that Wortox can provide. Willow is not only amazing with Wortox, she also has some insane synergy with Maxwell. You see, Maxwell is a very, very powerful character who barely ever has to worry about sanity. However, utilizing his Codex Umbra requires a specific material that can be hard or tedious for players to manually farm. This is where Willow's stuffed bear, Bernie, comes into play. As long as one player is insane, which isn't hard thanks to Maxwell having on-demand insanity, Bernie will passively produce nightmare fuel. This alone makes this duo very powerful, as a well-fed Codex Umbra makes Maxwell very, very powerful, but it's not the only benefit here. Bernie also becomes amazing during boss fights. You see, caging enemies as Maxwell costs sanity, and eventually Maxwell will go insane even with his sanity gain. And the last thing Mr. Squishy here wants to do is count his cage attacks and dodge terror beaks. Bernie takes care of this completely, allowing Maxwell to keep whatever needs caged. Speaking of Maxwell, I think it's time to finally talk about one of the most powerful combos in the game, at least when combat is involved. That being the duo of Maxwell and any fighting character. Wigfrid, Wolfgang, or specifically Wanda. Why Wanda specifically? Well, she is one of the better choices here since she provides utility, but she doesn't come free, as she's hard to master since you must be at 1/4 of your health all the time to do max DPS. Now, this duo is so powerful thanks to one key fact. Maxwell can hold bosses still. This power absolutely breaks any boss fight, as it makes it completely trivial to fight. This duo doesn't even require both players to necessarily be good at the game either, just the fighter, as Maxwell's job will simply be to count the time between cages and make sure that whatever's caged doesn't break free. This duo is by far one of the most powerful for boss stomping, and when you're done stomping those bosses, if you happen to have a Wanda as your fighter of choice, you can quickly leave when you are done. Another key element of the Wanda-Maxwell duo is that both benefit greatly from shadow gear. Wanda with her old age buff and Maxwell with his shadow buffs, meaning both will want to progress down the same path together naturally. A great combo that can handle combat with ease, but they somewhat fall behind on survivability. And because of that, I think that it's overshadowed by the next and final duo we are going to cover on this list. But before we do that, are you subscribed yet? Have you absolutely smashed that like button? Well, if you did, that would be super awesome of you. Also, if you enjoy content like this and want to get some sneak peeks into future content ideas or just talk to me, be sure to join the Discord. I don't plug it a lot on this channel, but it's a very cool place full of very cool people, and joining allows you to vote on super important things like what I will be streaming when I do stream, and what I will be doing for milestones. Anyways, enough stalling, let's see who, in my opinion, is the best duo in Don't Starve Together. For our number 1 spot, I have to give it to Worley and Wickerbottom. Hear me out here, alright? So Wickerbottom alone is a phenomenal character, if we ignore the fact that Maxwell can do everything she can, but better if used as a swap character. She's capable of making books that have very powerful effects. One of these just so happens to cause plants to grow insanely fast. Plants that Worley needs to make his unique dishes and spices, and plants that can keep both of them very well fed. Survival's no big deal, sure, but what about combat? Well, here's where these two can excel. One of Worley's dishes, Volt Goat Jelly, causes survivors who eat it to do extra electrical damage. This alone is really good, but add chili powder and it gets even stronger, providing both damage boosts. Okay, not bad, but with a Wickerbottom using her weather book, now you can make it rain on demand, causing the world to be wet, further increasing the damage done to targets. That's right, eating spicy Volt Goat Jelly and utilizing Wickerbottom's Rain Book allows you both to deal a whopping 3 times damage to any enemies. Now, sure, this combat duo requires a lot of setup, but they have potential to be not only amazing at combat, but also trivialize survival, making them one, if not the, best duo in the game, in my opinion. Before we end the video, however, since I didn't cover every character, I want to sort of do a few honorable mentions here that won't get their own segment, but are strong enough to warrant me talking about them at least a little bit. First, Wortox and Wormwood. These two are amazing for mass production of living logs from Wormwood and healing from Wortox. Wormwood and Weber. This is basically a meme duo thanks to Lunar Fun Caps, but one that can be very fun if pulled off. And finally, Winona and Maxwell, for the same reasons as WX and Winona, but better, while also being worse since Maxwell is better with a true fighter character anyway. And finally, there we have it, the end of the video. If you want to tell me how bad my opinion is, well, now's the time to do it in the comments down below. Or if you want to leave your own personal favorite duos, then that's also appreciated. Regardless, this has been Polarlotus, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.